The letter that changed Christmas. The snow fell softly over the quiet streets of Manhattan as Christmas Eve settled like a gentle blanket across the city. Most people were already home with their families, but Marcus Henderson sat alone in his corner office on the 42nd floor, staring out at the twinkling lights below. He had built his technology company from nothing. For 15 years, he had poured every ounce of his energy into making it successful. Now, at 42, he was one of the youngest CEOs in the city. He had everything he had ever worked for. Everything except someone to share it with. Marcus loosened his tie and glanced at his watch. It was almost 7 o'clock. His assistant had left hours ago, along with everyone else in the building. She had invited him to spend Christmas with her family, but he had politely declined. He always declined. The truth was, Marcus had forgotten how to be around people. He had spent so many years focused on his work that he had let friendships fade away. His parents had passed when he was young, and he had no siblings. Christmas had become just another day on the calendar. A day that reminded him of everything he had sacrificed. He stood up and grabbed his coat. There was no point staying in the empty office any longer. At least at home, he could pretend he had chosen to be alone. The streets were quieter than usual as Marcus walked the 6 blocks to his apartment building. The snow crunched softly beneath his expensive leather shoes. He passed families hurrying home with last-minute gifts, couples laughing as they ducked into warm restaurants, children pressing their faces against shop windows filled with twinkling displays. Marcus pulled his coat tighter and walked faster. When he reached his building, something caught his eye. 3 little girls stood huddled together near the entrance, all dressed in matching pink coats. They couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years old. They were identical triplets, with blonde curls peeking out from beneath their knitted hats. Marcus slowed his pace. The girls were alone, which seemed odd on Christmas Eve. As he got closer, he noticed they were holding something. A card, decorated with colorful paper hearts. The middle girl spotted him and whispered something to her sisters. All 3 turned to look at him with wide, hopeful eyes. Then, together, they stepped forward and held out the card. "Excuse me, mister," the middle girl said in a small, clear voice. "This is for you." Marcus stopped. He looked at the card, then at the 3 earnest faces watching him. "For me, are you sure?" The girl on the left nodded vigorously. "Yes, we made it for the lonely person." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He took the card with careful hands. The construction paper was slightly bent, and the hearts were glued on at crooked angles. In shaky handwriting, it read, "You are not alone. Merry Christmas." He looked up at the girls, but before he could speak, a woman's voice called out from down the street. "Emma, Olivia, Sophie, there you are." A young woman hurried toward them, her face flushed with worry. She wore a simple coat and carried several shopping bags. When she reached the girls, she knelt down and pulled them close. "You can't just run off like that," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "I told you to stay with me." "But Mama," the middle girl, Emma, said. "We saw the lonely person. We had to give him the letter." The woman looked up at Marcus, and he saw the exhaustion in her eyes. But there was something else there too. Kindness, warmth. "I'm so sorry," she said, standing up. "They've been making cards all week for people who look sad. I should have been watching them more carefully." Marcus found his voice. "No, it's fine. Really." He held up the card. "This is beautiful. Thank you, girls." The triplets beamed at him. "I'm Sarah Mitchell," the woman said, offering a tired smile. "And these are my daughters. We just moved into the building last month. Apartment 3B, Marcus Henderson," he replied. 42nd floor. Sarah's eyes widened slightly. "Oh, the penthouse." An awkward silence fell between them. Marcus shifted his weight, suddenly aware of how this must look. The wealthy CEO and the struggling single mother. It was such a cliché that it almost made him laugh. But then Sophie, the quietest of the 3 girls, tugged on his coat. "Are you going to be alone for Christmas?" she asked. Marcus looked down at her serious little face. He could have lied. He could have made up some story about plans with friends or family. But something about her honest question made him tell the truth. "Yes," he said quietly. "I am." The 3 girls exchanged glances. Then Emma spoke up again. "You should come have dinner with us. We don't have much, but Mama makes really good chicken. And we have cookies. We made them ourselves." "Girls," Sarah said quickly, her cheeks turning pink. "I'm sure Mr. Henderson has his own plans." "Actually," Marcus interrupted, surprised by his own words. I don't. And I would love to join you. If that's really okay. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. He could see her weighing the decision, wondering if this was wise. But then she smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. Dinner is at 6 tomorrow, she said. Nothing fancy. Just family. Marcus nodded, his throat tight. That sounds perfect. Christmas Day dawned clear and bright. Marcus woke up earlier than usual and, for the first time in years, actually felt excited about the holiday. He went out and bought gifts for the girls, art supplies and books, and a nice bottle of wine for Sarah. Nothing too expensive. He didn't want to make them uncomfortable. When he knocked on the door of apartment 3B at exactly 6 o'clock, his heart was pounding. He couldn't remember the last time he had been this nervous. Emma opened the door, her face lighting up. He came. Mama, he came. The apartment was small but warm and filled with the smell of roasting chicken. A modest Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with homemade ornaments. Sarah emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Welcome, she said. Come in, please. The evening that followed was unlike anything Marcus had experienced in years. The girls chattered endlessly, showing him their drawings and telling him stories. Sarah talked about her job as a nurse and the challenges of raising triplets alone after her husband had passed away 2 years earlier. Marcus found himself opening up too. He told them about his company, but also about his loneliness. About how success had come at a price he hadn't expected to pay. As they sat around the small table, sharing the simple meal, Marcus realized something. He hadn't lost the ability to connect with people. He had just forgotten to try. When it was time to leave, the girls hugged him tightly. Sarah walked him to the door. Thank you, he said. For tonight, for the card, for reminding me what Christmas is supposed to feel like. Sarah smiled. Thank you for coming. The girls haven't been this happy in a long time. And neither have I. As Marcus rode the elevator back up to his penthouse, he held the handmade card in his hands. The crooked hearts and shaky letters looked more valuable than anything in his expensive apartment. He had been alone on Christmas, until 3 little girls left him a letter that changed everything. And now, for the first time in 15 years, Marcus Henderson wasn't planning to spend next Christmas alone. He was planning to spend it with family.